Welcome friends, it's Doreen and welcome to my channel, Back to Home with Doreen. Today we are making this lovely savory puff pastry sunflower. Now this is filled with some goat cheese, some basil pesto, pre-made, got that from the store. You're going to use a little sharp cheddar cheese, a little black forest ham, and a little prosciutto. I'm trying to think if I had anything else in there. I think that's about it. Yeah. And you need some poppy seeds. But this is a lovely, lovely dish to bring as an appetizer. If your friends are having a party or you've been asked to a party, this is a wonderful thing to bring. Or if you're doing a party yourself, hosting a party, this is a lovely appetizer. Or this would go perfect for a brunch, ladies brunch, especially us ladies. We like pretty things, don't we? So I started out with some herbed goat cheese that I got at the grocery store. I got 2 4-ounce packs. I let that sit out at room temperature before I started working with it. I took a fork and just mashed it through just to make it nice and creamy. Now you can go ahead and put that in your food processor or your KitchenAid if you want to whip it up in that, but I didn't want to dirty another dish. So that was good enough for me, made it nice and creamy. Then you're just going to take about a half a cup of sharp cheddar cheese. I like the white for this dish. So yeah, that's what I used. I bought 1 package of prosciutto ham. I forget how many ounces. There's like maybe 8 slices in a pack. Now prosciutto can be a little bit expensive, but you don't need a whole lot in this dish. And I could have just went with prosciutto. I thought about that, but I was like, you know what? This is just one of the dishes I was serving, so I didn't want to make it too expensive. I wanted to make it affordable, so I bought also a little bit of black forest ham, and I used a few slices of that. Chopped it up in nice little bite-sized pieces. You don't want it big pieces because then it's hard to bite into. And you're also sectioning off the puff pastry dough into about 16 different sections. So you want to be able to twist those sections, and you'll see later in the video what I'm talking about. So you don't want really big pieces. So just cut that into small bite-sized pieces because I just pre-prepped all my ingredients to get that ready to put together. Now I did buy 2 packages of pre-made puff pastry because I had many things to do that day, so I didn't want to make anything from scratch as far as the puff pastry. But yeah, I used 2 packages. I used 1 jar of the pre-made basil pesto. Bought 1, I think it was the 8-ounce package of the sharp cheese, and I only used like a quarter to half of that package. 1 package of 8-ounce of the black forest ham, 1 package of the prosciutto ham, and let's see, what else do we need? A little bit of egg for egg wash and some poppy seeds. So those are all the ingredients that you will need. And I'll give you a heads up even before I put that together. This dish went over really well. I brought it as a compliment with to serve for Mother's Day brunch, and I served a cute little watermelon teapot I made, and I made a watermelon teacup with on a fruit platter. It was really pretty, cute idea. I filled the cantaloupe, the watermelon teapot and watermelon teacup with watermelon and cantaloupe. I used one of those melon ballers, so it was a really pretty presentation. So this was just an additional thing. So you just want to flour like your parchment paper, or you can use one of those silicone mats, and you want to pull that out, and just be careful. You can let it sit out for a couple minutes, and then it's a little bit easier to roll out. Takes a little bit getting used to working with puff pastry. It is a little bit delicate, but anytime I've really started just using puff pastry more in this last year or so, and I find it a little bit easier every time I go ahead and use it. So I just rolled this out. You can see I'm having a little bit of problem with that, but just roll that out and use your rolling pin. Put a little flour on both sides and just put it to the size you need. We're going to be using I think it's a 10-inch plate, and so I want to make a circle. So I'm just going to thin this out a little bit till it's the right dimension. You don't want to make it too thin because then your filling will seep through and you might get holes. So, and you don't want to overwork this. So I'm just kind of going lengthwise a little bit and a little bit of widthwise, rolling it out. Now I'm going to get this prepped ahead, and I'm going to also chill it. I think this, I can't remember now on this one, I think I did the bottom half first. But you want to get that back from the refrigerator till you're ready to assemble your sunflower. Because the puff pastry is going to come out much more flaky and crispy, and yeah, it won't be melting either. If you have it sitting out, it's going to be hard to work with. Let me know in the comments if you all work with puff pastry that much. It's like, I feel like it makes so many things so yummy. You can go sweet or you can go savory. It's just like, and it makes you look good. It makes your dishes just so yummy. And sometimes when we're doing a lot of cooking, we're looking for something that's just going to be a little bit easier. You know, if we're making a lot of complicated dishes, it's nice to have that dish that you're like, you know what, this is not going to be that hard to put together. It's going to be actually easy to put together, and I'm going to get a lot of bang for my buck. People are going to love this recipe. So you can see I just put the plate on the puff pastry and used a sharp paring knife and trimmed off the excess. And you can go ahead and save the excess. You want to use it in the same day because it will dry out. Like I said, you don't want to work with it a whole lot. But yeah, you can wrap that up in some wax paper or parchment paper and put it in the fridge. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. And sometimes, yeah, you might not pull all the pieces off perfectly and neatly. So just go in with your paring knife and kind of cut off any excess or little mistakes. And if you rip off some that's part of the circle, you can, or you tear it a little bit, just use your egg wash. You're going to need one egg and whisk that, and you can use a little egg wash to use as glue to fix any little tears. And I pretty much cooked this when I baked this, I put it on the parchment paper and put that in the refrigerator. One thing you want to do is take a little glass or a little bowl and mark out the center. You want to press it down just a little so you have an impression. And you're going to put you're going to start with your goat cheese and spread that around the outside of your circle there. See that inner circle I'm working with? And you're going to spread out that herbed goat cheese all around the circle, and you're going to leave about an inch from the edges because you need to put the egg wash on there so that your puff pastry will be sealed. Now I started with... Don't forget to subscribe. That way you can catch all my latest recipes, from brunch to dinners to desserts and so much more. So yeah, just next you're gonna spread out some of the basil pesto. And you can see this goat cheese is really easy to work with. And I did put some of the filling also in the middle. And actually, I put a little extra filling in the middle, so my sunflower, the middle is raised up a little bit. It looks a little bit more like a sunflower. And of course, you're not going to put the poppy seeds on the bottom layer. You're going to put it. We're going to be spreading out the top layer. Now, I did do a little research as far as baking this puff pastry, and the baking times and the temperatures are pretty close to one another. Some go a little bit lower, like 375. Some go up to 425, or maybe even a little bit more. So I checked out, like I said, several recipes to see, okay, what's going to be my optimal baking temperature and time. So I went with 400 degrees, and I believe it was between 20 and 25 minutes, and it's a preheated oven. Yeah, 400 degrees, and that, I thought that was perfect. Now we're ready to put on that basil pesto, which a basil pesto is basically like, of course, chopped basil, some pine nuts, a little bit of olive oil, and some seasoning. And you can make your own. It's really easy. But I always have a jar of this on hand. It's one of my staples because you can do so many things. You can quick, if you don't have any fresh basil, and I don't know about you, but I many times will buy some fresh herbs, planning to make a dish, and it comes to the end of the week or so, and I'm like, oh, I never made that dish, and I go to get my herbs, and they're ruined. I don't know if you all do that, but I've done that more times than I'd like to admit to. So that being said, that's kind of why I buy a jar of that, because I can use that on potato salad. I've made a macaroni salad with that basil pesto. If you just want to liven up some of your salads, you can use it for many appetizers. You can buy yourself a French baguette and toast some crostinis, and there you go. So it's pretty versatile, and it's just nice to have on hand. Now I'm just spreading the prosciutto and the ham, doing that on the in the middle, and then that outer ring. And you can see I did leave that space so that we can put a little egg wash on the outer rim to make sure our sunflower is nice and sealed. This really is very easy to put together, as you can see. And you could do many different, you know, fillings. You can do the fillings you prefer. You know, I really first saw this recipe with it filled with a spinach dip. And I was looking around in the grocery store for spinach dip. Now, every other week, I usually find tons of spinach dip. And when, you know, that week I was making this, I couldn't find any. And I was like, I didn't really want to make my own homemade spinach dip because I think I've only made spinach dip once. Now, here you can see it's completely, we've got all our toppings on there and we're ready to put that top layer of puff pastry on there. We're going to do our egg wash around the edges though, right before, and you don't do that until you're ready to put that other layer. And you can roll out your dough all at once. I'm just kind of doing this in the order of how you're going to put it together, but you could roll out your dough all at once. So you've got it, you know, you're not making another mess. You can just cut that out and put it on a piece of parchment paper and put it back in the fridge though. I hope you give this recipe a try because I know you're going to love it. I'd be curious to what kind of fillings y'all might want to put in here. You can make like Italian, right? With some pepperoni, some provolone and mozzarella cheese. You could do a little ricotta. But being it's spring, I thought this is a nice fresh way. You know, all the flowers are coming out, and I thought this would be a nice fresh using the basil pesto. There I'm doing the egg wash to hold it all together. And friends, if you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, I'd love to invite you today to subscribe. I've got over 200 videos of everyday meals, dinners. We have a few breakfasts. We have brunch, plenty of brunch and some appetizers and a lot of desserts. And we do things for every day and special occasions and holidays. So there's something in there for everyone. So if you subscribe, you'll be able to catch all my latest videos. Now you can see I'm just placing that top layer over. Might be a few adjustments you have to make. I went ahead with that little bowl I had for the center and pressed that down in. You can see it's in the middle. It's raised a little bit. I think I might have trimmed off. I'm using a little end of a spoon to kind of crimp that down. Want to be careful with it though, not to poke a hole. And then I said I use a paring knife to kind of trim off the edges just to make it nice and circular. So it looks nice and uniform and hopefully not sloppy. Usually I'll do a video when I'm talking right here, but today I did a voiceover just because on this recipe I kind of had to work a little faster than I normally do when I'm recording live or recording with me talking. It just takes a little bit extra, and I had a lot of projects to do for Mother's Day, so I said, let me just make this because I know you're all gonna love it, and I could just do a voiceover. You can see I ripped a little piece, so I used a little egg wash and kind of glue it back on there. Then I go ahead and just crimp the edges because you don't want your filling to burst out. I use the back of a spoon to crimp that closed. Now, the next step is to have a sharp paring knife, and you're going to cut evenly, one on the top, one on the bottom, and one on the right side and one on the left side. And you want that, get that even, because this is your starting point. I believe it was 16 slices. So now what I'm going to do next is slice in between those, exactly in half of each of those cuts, those first initial cuts I made. Let's go around and do the same thing for the whole circle. And then next we're going in between, we're going in half of each of those slices we just did. So you should end up with 16 pieces, or 16, which are going to be your flower petal. Now just take your egg wash and coat that fairly well. You want to, this will give you a nice glow to your sunflower puff pastry. Make it nice and golden brown, or light golden brown. Don't forget that middle part. I do the middle part last because that's where we added the poppy seeds, and you want those to stick on there. And I guess I twisted it first. Oh, maybe, I'm like, oh, there we go. I was like, when did I put those poppy seeds? There they are. Doesn't that add? Now I see some people use sesame seed on there, but because it's a sunflower, I'm like, I want to do poppy seeds. I think that looks really nice. What's your favorite thing to bring to a brunch? Now just carefully lift up those edges, and you're going to twist it to the right twice. And then sometimes you have to play with the ends a little bit. And I make it a little pointy on the end. I wish I had gotten a better close-up of that part, but this basically look like a little braid. And like I said, this is about it. Like, that's pretty easy. You got a beautiful appetizer. You know, you could have some friends over, have a few appetizers. That'd be a lovely dish to host with. And but I baked it at home, brought it to church because I served mine at church, and so it was probably a good 40 minutes before anybody got into it, but it still was delicious. I kept it warm. I kept a couple of sheets. I did 2 or 3 sheets of aluminum foil after I baked it, so that when I brought it to church, it was a little warm. It wasn't ice cold, but at room temperature, it was delicious. And there's the finished product. Isn't that so pretty? Well, go ahead, friends. Let me know if you're going to give this a try or if you have tried it. Thanks for watching today, and don't forget to subscribe. There's my cute little watermelon teapot and cup.